Hi, my name is Kate, and today I'm going to be talking to you about social media and young girls, and specifically the impact that it has on young girls who use it. So first we're going to talk about what social media is, how it has grown, the benefits of using social media, the negative consequences of social media, and what we can do about it. So first off, what is social media? Social media is defined as websites and applications that enable users to create and share content or to participate in social networking. So some super common social media platforms we're all probably aware of would be like Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Instagram and Facebook are similar, where they allow you to post to a platform that others will view it, whereas like Snapchat allows us to send pictures back and forth to communicate, and Twitter allows people to post short updates, which are called tweets. So the three things I found in common about most social media websites would be posts, comments, and likes. So the common process for someone on Instagram, for example, would be that they decide which picture they like, they post it publicly, and then their followers have the ability to comment, which means that they get to post publicly underneath that post what it makes them think or how it makes them feel. And then they also have the ability to validate the post by liking it. For example, on Facebook, you can thumbs up, thumbs down, exclamation point, or love a post. So this is kind of how people who use it interact with those people that follow them. Another thing would be direct messaging. Direct messaging serves as like a back channel for social media accounts. It allows users to message back and forth without the public eye that a comment or like may receive, and allows them to talk directly to each other. Some statistics for when social media first began in the early 2000s would be that only about 5% of adults were active on social media accounts. 4% of those 5 were female and about 6% were male. So it's pretty uncommon. We would think that females probably use social media more often. But it has grown. So unlike those small stats when it first began, social media has grown to become part of most people's day-to-day. Beginning in the early 2000s with only a small selection of platforms, users now have a variety of apps and programs to choose from. So as you can imagine, those stats have skyrocketed since the early 2000s when social media first began, and it is now used by almost everyone. The stats for today is that at about a 3% growth rate year to year, social media has now grown to where about 72% of adults say they use social media. 78% of females claim they use social media, and 66% of males use social media. So as you can see, that has kind of flip-flopped to where more females are on social media like we would imagine. Here is a timeline I've created that shows the growth of social media. So in 1983, the internet was invented, and by 1997, a little over a decade later, we had our first social media platform, which was called 6 Degrees, and allowed people to post their music and share it to the people that followed them. In 1999, the concept of blogging became popular, and by 2010, almost all social media platforms we're now familiar with had been created and were circulating. In the present day, we now have 7 categories of social media, with about 100 different platforms overall. It's become pretty socially stigmatized to have a social media account. I would say that the deviance of social media is to not have social media at all. About 4.48 billion people in the world use social media today, and those people that are active on social media claim to have an average of about 6 different social media accounts. So like I said, I think it's the social stigma to have social media. That would be considered the social norm. And if you don't have it, someone's probably said something to you about how weird it is or how odd it is that you don't have social media and don't use it. So social media does come with some positive impacts. I don't want to overlook those. There are a lot of good things that come out of it. Some of the benefits of social media would be that it allows people to build relationships, stay connected, spread news, grow business. It provides a place for people to express themselves, and it also serves as an escape from reality. But I do think that the negative impact of social media is a lot more influential, especially on young girls who are using it a lot. Some of those consequences of social media include feeling inadequate about your own life, a false reality of other people's lives, FOMO, which is the fear of missing out because you're viewing everyone else having a really good time. It increases depression and anxiety, body image issues, and also harbors cyberbullying. In a study reported on in the New York Times, a woman said it perpetuates negative self-image in people, stuff that might feed into eating disorders. Miss Treese, 18, said, I've definitely seen people impacted by jealousy or the fear of missing out. So at this point, it's pretty much common knowledge that social media has a really negative impact on people, especially young girls. Like this girl said, there's a lot of different things that come along with the use of social media. So some girl-specific things that are really, really bad would be that anxiety and depression. So the use of social media increases FOMO, like I said, and that feeling of inadequacy and dissatisfaction in your own life, and it causes people to isolate, and in turn leaves you feeling negative or in a worse mood, which leads to heightened depression and anxiety. It also can be a cause of body image issues. About 87% of women that use social media say they negatively compare their body to the bodies of women on the social media accounts they're viewing. And then issues like this can lead to things like suicide. As the use of social media has risen, so has the suicide rate for young girls. And suicide is now the second leading cause of death among teen girls. So obviously the issue of social media affects society on a macro level. Almost all people are affected by social media. Even if you're not actively using it, you probably are aware of the negative side of social media. So I think it starts to solve it on an individual level. We need to start with the people who are using social media to use it for good. And we can do this by connecting with people who inspire us, share similar interests, and provide a sense of belonging. We can also be these people online for our followers. Another thing is to be mindful of what you're viewing and what you're sharing with your followers. And then that being mindful aspect also goes into limiting the time we spend on social media. We need to be mindful of our productivity and make sure that we're not wasting time and avoiding other things in the reality of the world by spending time on social media. And then another big thing is we need to just remember that it's a highlight reel and not to read too much into it, because as soon as we let it be a big deal and feel bad about the way that other people are posting, we start to feel that feeling of inadequacy and FOMO that I talked about in the beginning. And if we can avoid that, obviously social media would be a better place. Some organizations I found that are working to make a difference against social media would be the Cyber Smiles Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization committed to digital well-being and tackling all forms of bullying and abuse online. So obviously they're working directly with the negative aspects of social media to try and solve them and to make people enjoy their time online. Another thing would be the JED Foundation, which is another nonprofit that protects emotional health and prevents suicide for all nations, teens, and young adults. This one obviously isn't as heavily correlated with social media, but those ideas of suicide and emotional health go along with the negative aspects of social media, and so them working against them is obviously helping combat the negative side of social media. And so that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this presentation on social media and the negative and positive effects of it and what we can do to make social media a better place. Like I said, it negatively affects everyone, but obviously young girls a little bit more differently. Feel free to leave questions down below. Thank you guys so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day.